We are live. I just have to hit one button here so we can be on the rest of the platforms. Here. It's connecting. And we are live on all platforms. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Welcome to Around Town TV. My name is 𝗂𝗲𝗏𝗀𝗀, and I'm thrilled to have with me creator and host of Inside Senior Living. Please welcome Melissa Fritz. Melissa, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm very excited to just have a great conversation with you, Carla, and talk about what's going to be on a lot of people's minds after the holiday this week.
Absolutely. It's interesting. I don't know if it's just this time of the year, but I've had like 3 conversations similar to what you and I discussed last week when we were talking about doing this show. But for the viewers who might not understand what Inside Senior Living is, if you wouldn't mind sharing with our viewers, what is it? They might think it's, an elderly place. They don't understand.
Right. Well, Inside Senior Living is a TV series that I created during the pandemic. I was working in the senior living industry as a senior living consultant, and at the same time helping my own mother navigate care for my father who had Alzheimer's dementia. So those two kind of created a perfect storm of my curiosity and trying to find some kind of reality type series that would show families what it's like to help an older adult family member, loved one, age in place, go through the struggles of trying to remain independent. And so I created the show. I created what I was looking for.
Well, and congrats, because I know firsthand, I created Around Town TV, which was on broadcast for 20 years. It's not easy. I know the blood, sweat, and tears you've put into this. So you took curiosity and passion and you made this dream happen. And I couldn't be more proud because it's so needed. So congrats.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, it was. It is a labor of love, as you know.
You could tell that comes out. That's very clear and evident. How did, if you won't mind sharing, your personal journey with your father's early onset and how that kind of helped shape the vision for this show?
Right. Well, what was really pivotal in my drive to create this show, through my own father's experience he was diagnosed with early onset dementia, so in his late 60s. And as that progressed, so he was in his early 70s during the pandemic. And so someone being in the senior living industry, like
Right.
I should know what this process is. I've been through all the dementia practitioner training, a lot of that training
Right.
that equip us to work in memory care communities. And yet I felt completely inept when it came to trying to help my own family. And so that struck me as even more important to create something for families, because if it's hard enough to find the right resources for someone that works in the senior living or the senior care space, then it must be really overwhelming and daunting, and maybe a big reason why people don't do their homework oftentimes and really take the time to understand what are the options in senior living, what are the options to age in place. Just becoming educated on it is so important. So having my own father go through this, really seeing the devastation that any kind of dementia has on a family, was really pretty much the catalyst that looking forward to creating the show.
Well, and I find a lot of people don't know where to find that information. And this show will not only provide that. So for those tuning in and watching, a couple things, you might have questions or you might need that information and don't know where to get that. This series will provide that. Number one, it's not like it's not exposing elderly. It's not like a drama related like that you're going to be really impressed with this series. With that said, you might have questions and concerns or want to learn more. And like me, I didn't know where to get that information. Googling, researching. And even then it's daunting. It's overwhelming. You look at price tags and you think, we can't do this. And so, as you and I discussed last week, so feel free if you want to comment, go ahead. If you want to private message us or even me, I will get you to Melissa and the right resources, whether it's before, during, or after the show. Well, not during the show, but when we're done. And even if you're watching this a couple days from now, which happens quite often, this will stay embedded. Right now, we are on Facebook in 4 places: LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. So please feel free to message. We on most of the platforms, it comes directly here. I can see the comments while we're online as well. With that said, what unique perspectives or stories will the viewers encounter in this series, since I sort of started touching on that?
Yes. Oh, I am so excited for the world to meet our 8 fabulous I keep wanting to call them contestants, but
I understand why. Yeah.
our 8 fabulous families. No, there's no prize at the end.
Right.
But for example, we have such a beautiful array of situations, socioeconomic, stratas, and cultural diversity, just so much variety. But every episode, so there's 8 episodes, and each episode will feature a different older adult or a couple, and kind of discuss and identify what are the challenges, where are they at right now. Most of the families in season 1 are still really trying to age in place and figure out, okay, we're starting to have some significant health challenges or maybe some significant cognitive decline, but how do we do this? Where are the resources? And then the other aspect that we are really highlighting in the show that I'm proud of is caregiver support. So often we are so focused on the potential resident or the older adult that is struggling with these chronic issues, and we neglect what's happening with the caregiver. And I can admit, even with my own mother, I've learned a lot doing this show, that I've had to go back to her and say, oh, Mom, I wish I would have known these certain things, because I feel like I could have helped her.
Yeah.
So what's exciting about the episodes are there are characters in there, family members, support people. We interview experts that speak to specific needs or conditions, like Alzheimer's experts. We have, we have community center, like support group experts, all kinds of people. But I think that there's something in this show for everyone, whether you're an older adult child, a grandchild, a neighbor, where you can see, we have a great story in one of the episodes about a woman who is caring for multiple people, unpaid caregiver in a senior housing, a senior apartment building. So it's not a senior living community, but she has pretty much taken on the role of, I'm going to do what I can to care for these people in my own building, in my own community, really rallying and making it work for all of them. So it's I hope that viewers are inspired, that we also interject a lot of Minnesota-based, because this season was 100% shot with Minnesota cast and crew, and I myself am Minnesotan. So which also was really fun to kind of give homage this first season. Like, this is my gift to my dad, and kind of in memory of him. So we mention on air things like the senior linkage line, places that provide practical resources if you are in need right now, in addition to watching the show and knowing that you're not alone, and kind of having some hope that there is help for you.
Right.
We are physically, we're practically providing that. And then the website, insideseniorliving.tv, are redoing that website. So right now, the new site will go live very soon, within a week.
Oh,
And that
fantastic.
will have a search directory for the area. You can type in a keyword like dementia or falls or diabetes and get resources in your area. And so we kind of go through a guide on the website as well, so that when in the future, in 9 months, when people are watching this on streaming and they have questions they want to reach out, I have a way to actually continue to help people.
Oh, fantastic. Bob Edmondson wrote, all of us are so proud of you. You obviously understand this horrible onset of life. I personally have lost many. Keep the word going. We need you. Thank you, Bob, for that wonderful comment. And Bob is also Santa Claus. He plays Santa Claus at this time. Yeah. So we have a real live Santa Claus commenting. Thank you, Bob, for your contributions there and your kind comments. I know very much appreciated. With this series, I understand you're partnering with PBS North. What led you to partner with them? And let's talk about a little bit of that and then the future of it as well.
Okay, so this is kind of the fun. I'm going to give like the insider scoop on, okay, so you think you want to do a TV show. Oh my goodness. I feel like I could do a TV show on you think you want to do a TV show. It's really hard. It's really hard. It's so much luck. It's just kind of being in the right place at the right time. And that's where I just feel so overwhelmed. Like I am just a gal, I'm just a woman who had this idea, and I just was in the right place at the right time and had this opportunity. But when I was putting this show together, my husband and I actually went out to major studio network marketplaces and pitched the show. So I had the opportunity to pitch the show to Magnolia and HGTV and Lifetime and A&E. And what led us to circle back to PBS North and PBS, to do this on public television was really my desire to maintain creative control, to maintain control of the brand, because I have seen so many times kind of the narrative in the media is often the exposés and the horror stories of senior living, and that is unfortunately a really sad reality in minority in a minority group of places. However, this show is intended to just provide information, provide hope,
be a good resource.
And not tell people like, this is, you should move to a senior living. It's not a commercial for senior living. This is really a commercial for aging. That
love it.
My number one mission with the show is to spark conversations. We have to stop this madness of avoiding aging, death, dying, hospice, chronic diseases, because we're afraid of it.
And we're all going to die.
We are all going to die. And this whole anti-aging culture and the pressure on especially women that says you have to do all these things to try to, we are not going to be able to undo time.
And we may look great, but we are going to die.
And who's like, aging is living. And so it's just, I know that this is a super lofty goal. My mission statement for the show is to spark conversations, to support caregivers, to provide valuable resources, and to promote a more age-friendly world. And so when I talk about promoting a more age-friendly world with this show, I compare it to, remember years back when nobody would talk about mental health.
Yes.
It was taboo. We didn't want to confront it, but we knew it was there, but we just kind of skirted around it. We've done a really good job as a society of confronting mental health.
Yes, we have.
Now it's time for us to confront aging and celebrating the fact that we're living, and that growing old and even moving into a senior living community is an opportunity to live. It's not an opportunity to go to a place to die. And,
Right.
it's really sad when I hear that comment because so often when people would be very resistant to move into a senior living community, a couple of weeks after they move in, so many times they would say to me, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe I just didn't understand. I
I wish I
didn't
had
know."
done this years ago.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
But it is scary. This change is really daunting and scary, and it's
Mhm.
very emotional for families.
And we work so hard for our homes and to
Yes,
let the and yes, you're in a new home and I understand that as well, and I've had those conversations, and you're so sweet to say and so humbled. Well, I was just a girl with a dream. Not only do you have an incredible background in the elderly with elderly care, you have an incredible marketing background, you're business savvy, you are educated, you're very smart, and you know when to fill in the gaps of what you don't have. And that's why you've been and are going to continue to be successful. And that's why this Thursday, everyone, at what time does the
at
show?
7:30. So
7:30.
let's see, so 7:30 on PBS North. So here's what happens. I'm sorry, I kind of got off on my
No,
mission.
no, no, no.
You didn't
We're going
answer
to be
the
all
question
on
about,
board.
like, you
So
think you want to do
we'll
it.
roll with it. Yes.
But I circled back to PBS North, and what we did is we landed a co-production and national distribution deal.
Yep.
So the co-production deal meant that they provided all the technical, so the videographer, the audio, the editor, kind of that team. And
Which
then
is a lot. So thank you, PBS North.
yeah,
Yes.
and they believed in this project.
Mhm.
It's hard to convince anyone
Mhm.
to put their money where their mouth is and say, "Trust me, this is a great
Mhm.
idea. Invest
Mhm.
in this." And they did. And so I'm
Mhm.
very, very grateful that they have given this opportunity, that the whole all 8 episodes will air initially on PBS North viewing area only,
Okay.
and on the PBS app and PBS Passport.
Okay.
And then the middle to the end of January is when it will be available to over 340 stations nationally.
Fantastic. If the viewers are tuning in, is there a way to live stream to see it on PBS North?
I
Or
don't, when I go to PBS North's website has where to watch, and they
okay.
say PBS North, so their website,
Okay.
YouTube, they also air the show via YouTube.
And
The
I've tagged
PBS,
them above this video, so for those tuning in going, "I wanna watch," you will be able to. Just go to their Facebook and their website.
yes. So I'm not exactly sure,
Okay.
to be honest, how that works. I think how it works is
Yeah.
that after this first episode airs, then it'll be a bit available to watch
For
on like their YouTube or their website,
Yep.
um, on PBS org and the PBS app. It should be available there. But
Fantastic. So, when this season's done, do you have plans for a second season?
we do.
Mhm.
My dream was always to um, film each season in a different geographic location.
I love
And the
it.
reason for that is because we have such a beautiful, diverse United States.
Yes, we do.
But one thing is universal: we're all aging,
Mhm.
and we have an aging population everywhere in every state. And so I would really love to be able to go in, just like we did with Minnesota. And when
Mhm.
you watch, if you're watching this in another state, what I want you to think about is, I want these resources from my state. I want this for my state. So we're kind of scoping out who would be our ideal target. We want to keep it on PBS if possible, but
Perfect.
we're really open to what the response is and what kind of opportunities are there. But I would love to do another season, multiple seasons, different states.
National expansion, I love that. Oh, that's incredible, and you will. How do you hope this series will change the conversation? Because you've mentioned a couple times, you want it to spark conversation. How do you think it will change the conversation about aging and senior living?
Well, I think that what found working at a community and just being shocked, and this is during the COVID pandemic, this is 2021, 2022, that there are really good resources for all different kinds of aging, elderly, resources, and great podcasts and great information. But the general public isn't finding it because they don't even know what to Google. They don't even know exactly how to connect with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the beautiful thing and why I think that this show brings a very unique opportunity for the entire industry and for the entire group of fabulous creators who are already doing really great content
Mhm.
is that there's nothing like television.
Yeah.
There's nothing like television, and especially public television, because this public television reaches where there isn't even internet access.
Right.
So I am really passionate and have connected with some great organizations that are very passionate about how do we serve the underserved elderly or older adult population. And I really believe by using the power of public media, public
Yes.
television, to connect to people that don't even have internet access, they're really not getting these resources.
Or even cable, like multiple channels. Yep.
Yes. And so let's use this as a platform to connect people with resources in their area.
Thank you for caring so much to do this. That's the thing I've learned about you when we met last week to talk about, testing to come on the show is you care. That's amazing. And you don't find that. There's lots of people who want to do shows. As we've talked about, there are a lot of people in your industry of this actual topic, but to find someone like yourself with your expertise and background and someone who cares. Thank you, Melissa, for what you're doing.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
No,
That means
you're well, and I know your impact and mission is huge, and if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to I have, like, 30 some questions for you. I have so many, probably because it's near and dear to my heart. It was that's so, I wanna make sure we cover them all, and we will, but, what is the primary message or takeaway you hope the audience will gain from watching these series?
that there are okay. Number one, I want people to know that if you wait to investigate what your choices are and to do this, which is your choice, but if you wait until you're in or near a crisis, you
Mhm.
have eliminated half of your choices, at least half of your choices. And
Oh,
so it's that's really important for people to know because,
okay.
again, working in a community, I would be oftentimes work in an assisted living community, the first call, mom, mom fell, she's in the hospital, they've said she can't go home, we need to find a place for her. And like they haven't done any, it's a crisis. And
Right.
so that was really a big motivation as well. So I really want people to take away, do not wait to just at least skim the waters on what is,
Mhm.
what are end of life, all of the things, estate planning, like financially, like start kind of doing a little digging around
Mhm.
and start talking to your loved ones about what your wishes are.
Right. Yes, no, such a good advice. And there, between Melissa and myself, we have those resources for you. If you need a good attorney or wills of healthcare directives, all of that. I mean, yes, there are forms online you can do, but it's overwhelming. And
Yep.
I'm happy to help. Powers of attorney. What does that mean? How is that different from emergency contacts? And I realize you think it's not going to happen to you. It is.
Yeah.
It is. I know
Yeah.
3 people right now that are going through one isn't in a crisis, but the other 2 are, and they're faced with that, and I didn't realize, Melissa, that that's eliminated half their options, and, because my situation was a little different, so thank you for that.
Yes.
Um, how does the show address, as we both know, the emotional challenges families face when navigating senior living options?
We, um, I think what it does, how we deal with that, how we kind of confront those is
Mhm.
by putting the lens on it. So we have families that are really, you'll see families, boy, they have really planned ahead.
Mhm,
And even
mhm.
with planning ahead, there's still crises in their family. I mean, there's still things that are like, oh, we didn't expect this to happen.
Right.
So I think that what I want to do is put the lens on it so that we can really so that we can reflect on where am I with this process?
Mhm.
And you're gonna see people too where we don't, I don't come out and say it, but we have some people that are clearly kind of still in a little bit of a denial phase, and
Yeah.
that's okay too. We're all in this journey together, and I
Yeah.
think that's important too that I wanted to show with the series is it's not a pretty little package every
No.
episode. It's not that
No.
things are always resolved at the end and it's just like this Hollywood ending. Sometimes
It's not a Hallmark movie.
no, and that's reality.
Reality.
It is
Yes.
reality, and I think that this will bring families hope, that they're not
Yes.
crazy, they're not alone, that this isn't about a shame, like, "Shame on you, you didn't plan." This is "Hey,
Right.
where are you at? What do you need? Let
How
me
can we
connect
help?
you." Yeah, "Let me connect you."
Yes, it's a resource, and I love that, and what a lot of people that I'm learning, just being touched by it a little bit as well, as when there's the, dementia or the Alzheimer's and they're not themselves, and they get mean or they accuse you of stealing, or it's easy to get mad and go, "I'm done. Just
Yeah,
whatever." But that's not them, and it might have been them that they were holding it in all those years. It brings out those things, and it is overwhelming, and people just wanna wash their hands, and you have to lean in. You have to have the resources because that emotionally is going to impact you once they pass away one day, and I know even you and I, who did everything we could for or you did for your dad and I did for both of my parents, there are times I have with the survivor's guilt of, "Was there anything else I could have done?"
yeah.
And that's just normal.
Mhm.
So, if you can eliminate that with this series, I'm just so excited to watch it. I can't wait. Um, is there an example of a story or a topic from the series that you found particularly moving or impactful while you were shooting this with the 8 families?
Oh, yes. We have a, older adult who's a Native American,
Mm.
and I learned so much. She's part of the Ojibwe tribe in,
Wow.
northern Minnesota, so we have 4 families that are based out of the Duluth area and 4 families out of the Twin Cities area, and we interviewed, there's an organization called Memory Keepers Medical Discovery Team.
Mhm.
It's part of the University of Minnesota, Medical School in Duluth, and I feel so privileged to be able to sit down with a couple of people on their team and really learn about what does aging mean and the process of death and dying and all of this
Mhm.
to the Native community. It 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 was so good that that was one of my first professional expert interviews because it kind of stopped me in my tracks as far as
Hmm.
even working in an industry that's kind of a well-oiled machine, I realized
Mhm.
we just start to get in these patterns of this is how we do things.
Right.
And as a society and a culture, and it really opened up my appreciation for I just love the Native American people,
Mhm.
philosophy on aging, and some of the most beautiful, um, poignant pieces of advice and wisdom that I gave that viewers are going to glean off of their
Hoping
advice.
from that.
I think it's just amazing that, like, the natives, how they view memory loss is so different than how in just
Interesting.
our regular in other cultures,
Right.
they view aging as kind of the process, well, you don't remember things when you're a baby. And so, it's a circle of life. And so when you get older and you start to lose your memory, it's a beautiful thing because it means
Oh,
you're
wow.
going kind of back into infanthood and kind of you're going to go
Mhm.
back into Mother Earth. I don't say it as beautiful as our experts do, but
Well, we'll have to watch the show to
you'll
hear it.
have to watch this episode.
Yes.
It is just really cool. And that's those are the things that I hope that family will kind of stop and reassess. Wait, just because this is you know, what
Mhm.
our
Culture.
family culture has done doesn't mean it's right. or it's the best, or
Right. You might
Mhm.
learn from other cultures, so
Yeah.
you're covering the whole inclusivity, the diversity of I love that, and, being down here in Shakopee, I'm surrounded by a lot of Native Americans, and I love the culture as well, and I have learned so much, and it is so different from, one of them was so afraid of my dog, and now they have their own dog. I didn't even realize. I mean, it is amazing what we can learn from each other. And one of the things you touched on just a moment ago, getting back to the show, was um, the progression of their view on memory. I tell people all the time from my 12 years of caregiving is it's not a natural progression, but you become the adult and they became the child. Sometimes they act like a toddler, sometimes they act like a teenager, and sometimes, sometimes they're themselves. They are your parent,
Yeah.
but it isn't a natural progression, but it is a part of the aging process. Not maybe not for everybody, but it was for me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I like the way you put that. That was great.
Oh. Oh, thank you. So, if you wouldn't mind, and I know if we leave anything out, we'll come back and I'll ask you, if there's something else we've missed. But in terms of the production and the insights there, what do you think has been the most challenging part of bringing this series to life?
Ooh, probably just this is my first rodeo. I have
Yes.
had to, one, learn the TV business, and two, basically build a company at the
Yeah.
same time because the show
Yeah.
is its own company. And so um, that has been really challenging, in addition to recruiting the families and cultivating those stories and really
Mhm.
connecting. And I hope that you can tell that, I mean, once I build a relationship with a family, they're kind of like part of my family. So I feel like I have 8 new family members, extended.
Wow.
Um, so it's a lot. It's been a lot to take on. And then just disappointment, there have been some real big disappointments in trusting
Yeah.
people to, when you don't know. I mean, you don't know what
No.
you don't know. So learning that TV business and kind of the ins and outs and
Can
the
be cutthroat.
not so great parts. But
Right.
overall, I'm very happy with, um, you know, just with myself, and it's okay.
Right.
I've
Right.
learned a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've learned a lot too.
Well, and you've been successful and you will continue to be. And for those watching that might be a business that could be connected to you, maybe a sponsor, advertiser, donor, we maybe have some families or foundations of people that are watching or some elderly. What would help you in support to having this to continue? What types of partners and sponsors?
Well, at this point, because we've wrapped production, but we are behind in our fundraising. So
Okay.
for Inside Senior Living, sadly, I have finished this project and we're launching
Right.
this project in the red. And so I
That's
have,
normal, sadly, but
yeah, I
that's
know,
why I asked that question
I
because if
know.
there's people watching with the media and all my
I'm
connections.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate that, and I'm just being honest and transparent that, but we are blessed to be able to continue to raise money through a fiscal sponsorship through Film North.
Perfect.
So Film North, and maybe you can put this link in there.
Yep, I will.
Filmnorth.org has a page of ours where you can read about the project and kind of where money goes, and then donate any amount to the
Wonderful.
project as
Yes,
a
if
sponsor.
you
And
send that when we're done, I will add it for sure. Thank you.
so that, anything helps. Certainly businesses who are related or can serve seniors, I would love to connect with you, because also our website will features any business gets a free listing on there.
Wow.
And so obviously we want to build as many resources for families as we can. So
Outstanding. I know when we were talking and you said, "Oh, I think of it," I said contestants, but I think I know why. So many families apply to be featured in the show. What qualities were you looking for in the families to be featured in your show?
well, I think, well, we were looking for families that were willing to be vulnerable, because it's a big ask to and families that would be willing to trust us. So, I mean, we really had to prove ourselves that, hey, trust me, this isn't an expose. We're not trying to exploit you. But we were just looking for fun, dynamic, good on camera, lively people that laugh, cry, the
Mhm.
range of emotions, and families that had kind of unique stories of support systems or unique hobbies or careers. Like we have a veteran on our show who he was a pilot for a major corporation in the state of Minnesota,
Wow.
and ended up like he flew presidents with presidents of the United States. He flew his last flight was the Concorde.
Oh, wow.
It's just phenomenal, the stories of
Mhm.
these people's lives. So,
Mhm.
and the beautiful thing about the work that I do is that is the most fun. It's
Yeah.
just everybody has a great story. Everybody has a great story, no matter who you are, no matter what life you've lived. I want to tell those stories and honor our elders.
Well, and one thing I've found through my 35 plus years in the business is whenever I'm getting or trying to interview or get good sound bites when I was featuring businesses on broadcast specifically, I would find those who didn't want to be on camera were many times the best ones, where versus the ones that wanted to be, I want to be on, I want to be on. And they weren't always, we could pull it out of them, but I always found that interesting. Have you found any of that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And people that were very reluctant, and some of these interviews are just fabulous.
I can't wait.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. A lo I will say most of our families, I feel like they did a better job on camera sometimes, most of the time than I did, but
No,
we're
you
all kind of but the beautiful thing is I got to say to them, "This is kinda my first time on camera too, so we're in this together. I'm just as nervous as you are." Just put
yes.
everybody at ease.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, I love that. And one of the things that I'm sure that you found in working with them and them understanding that it is your first time, and even though it's not mine, I told you this, I
Yeah,
always get a little nervous. I think that's normal.
yeah.
Keeps you grounded and makes you work hard for everything you're doing. And I can't wait for 7:30 on Thursday evening. But one of the questions I had, and of course, I always do my homework. That's the true journalist of me.
Mhm.
And I've been searching and watching, and I found even posts. And I can tell your husband, Dr. Stuart Fritz, is very proud of you, and but he has also played a role in this series. So that would be my question: is what role does your husband play, and how has his perspective enriched the project?
Well, my husband, he's proud of me, but I'm very proud of him. He is a retired emergency physician. He spent 32 years serving as an emergency physician at Methodist Hospital. And
I'm sure he took care of my parents. We were in emergency a lot.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so he has great stories and um, just a lot of wisdom on Melissa. This is what I would see. Here are the these are things that are
Wow.
going to be important for you to highlight. These are things in this family's story that you really want to touch on because I saw this a lot in the ER. So he has been really, really instrumental in that kind of emergency medicine side, just having that
Mhm.
perspective. But from the show perspective, I mean, this man, I said, "Hey, I'm going to go from full time to part time because I'm going to do this TV show." Okay. Hey, I think now, I got to make a decision. We have this we need to pitch this show. Will you go with me? And he found the marketplaces. I mean, nobody helped us like find where to pitch to. He found it. We went. He was a great pitching partner and has just like held the family together while I have been completely consumed with this project.
Immersed in it.
Super
Wow.
fun to now just be able to celebrate,
Yes.
what we've done together, and the fact that this is a big accomplishment for us.
I love his perspective because he saw families like ours in crisis modes of things we never knew. And one of the reasons I'm sure, especially if he worked weekends and
Oh, yeah.
evenings, oh, my mom would always wait till 11 o'clock Friday night and tell me about symptoms. And I'd ask her all day, how you doing? I'm great. And then all of a sudden, Carla, and I was like, what? How long has this been going on? Well, a couple days. Mom, it's 11 o'clock on a Friday. And now you have 100 and whatever degree temp, so, and of course, when you're terminally ill with metastatic bone cancer, they want you in.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling he probably would recognize me. Well, maybe not, because it was usually 2 in the morning and I didn't
Well,
look
you
like
might
I had
recognize him. You will never, once you hear his laugh, you'll always recognize Stuart. So
Oh, I bet I will then, because
yeah.
my folks were jokesters too. And
Okay.
yep. So God bless him for what he has done and the role and the perspective he can give. And of course, you are an earth angel. It's just amazing what you're doing. And I guess one of my other questions that just from listening to you and us talking offline is, how does the series blend education and entertainment to engage the viewers?
I think this is where we're so lucky to have had, we haven't, so the videographer and editor assigned to our project by PBS North, I think he's won 8 Emmys. I mean,
Oh,
he's amazing. Steve Ash,
oh yeah.
he's incredible. So we have all, like we had all the footage, but
Mhm.
how he was able to connect the dots on these stories, and because you have to kind of capture the audience right away on
Mhm.
falling in love with it, something to spark interest in these families or the older adult story. And I think he does. I can't take credit for putting that together initially.
A lot of work.
He did an amazing job. And then my producer writer, then I had a producer writer, 𝗟𝗵𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗏. She did phenomenal, taking those editing outlines and then creating narratives for me
Mm.
to weave the stories together, weave the parts of the story so that viewers kind of connect the dots.
Mhm.
But, oh my goodness, you cry. Well, the few people that we've given kind of preview to for our test audience laugh, cry, really connect, and that's our hope, is that you really connect with these families and feel what they're feeling.
Well, I hope that your series wins an Emmy, next year, and I hope that we're at the Upper Midwest Emmys together so I can watch it.
Yes.
I have a feeling, knowing Steve and his work, and what I've, when I did my homework on that too, I have a feeling. So we've used the word resources. If someone's tuning in, and we've had a lot of consistent people on here, and they're like, "Well, this is great, but I need advice. I need resources." What resources and advice does the series provide for families facing tough decisions about their senior care, maybe right now?
Okay, so if you're in the state of Minnesota,
Hmm.
first up is, if you have questions right now and you are like, I need to start somewhere, I am going to direct you to the Minnesota Senior Linkage Line. It's an
Okay.
800 number. You can Google it. I wish I had it handy right
It's okay,
here.
we can add it, that in the
Yep.
other link.
Senior Linkage Line, and it's a free resource. It's put on by your area agency on aging. So it's a
Okay.
state, it's kind of comes down from the federal and then funnels to your local
Mhm.
county or regional area.
Okay.
And the Senior Linkage Line helps you, literally, it's just nonpartisan. So you're not calling a senior, an assisted living community that wants to sell you an apartment,
Or an attorney.
or an
Yeah,
attorney,
yeah.
that you're talking to someone who is like basically a wealth of knowledge on, okay, here's kind of the basics of how Medicare and Medicaid work from the financial aspect.
Yeah.
Okay, here are kind of the levels of care you're going to be dealing with. Are we talking about care suites? Are we talking about enhanced care? Do we maybe need memory care? Are we looking for independent 55 plus apartments? I mean, so they will
Wow.
explain all of that to you. And then caregiver resources, local caregiver support groups. They will connect you with those right in your area. And I just love that it's staffed by just wonderful people, a lot of social workers and former nurses and
Wow.
current nurses, really good people. So that would be my first suggestion for anybody.
Fantastic.
Call the senior linkage line. It's what I ended up telling my mom to do when she
Oh,
was like, I
wow.
don't know what to do. They were up north. I'm down in the Twin Cities. I was like, call the senior linkage. And my mom is the biggest cheerleader for the senior linkage line because they really
Fantastic.
helped her.
That's good to hear, and I'm sure they'll walk her through, like, the money is always the biggest piece, and people think, "Well, I," and most can't, but they help you walk you through what you would have to do, and then yeah, okay. That's good.
They literally walked her through because that was the case. It was
Mhm.
a couple. My mom is independent, but she had a husband with early on, in his early 70s, facing years and years and years of memory care.
Wow.
And so how do you not devastate yourself where she would be left
Right.
a
With
lot
nothing.
of, yeah, because we just don't age simultaneous, we don't age at the
Right.
same rate. So
Right.
oftentimes couples, it's one person starts to have the health or cognitive issues. And
Mhm.
so it was a really good resource for her. Not perfect. I've heard some negative comments about, oh, I didn't really get what I was looking for, but keep trying. Um,
Okay.
Area agencies on aging is where you want to reach out to. The Alzheimer's Association, huge wealth of information. Even AARP provides
Oh,
a lot of.
wow. Okay, that's great.
Mhm.
Great information. And we've talked a little bit about this too, but how does your series emphasize the importance of maintaining independence and promoting the well-being for seniors? Because I know we have touched on getting people into memory care. And again, that's not what this show is about. It's about aging and aging gracefully.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's what I'm excited about. When we set out and we were interviewing families, I mean, the series title is Inside Senior Living. However, really, it's very exciting for me to see we only have one family, well, one or two families really moving into senior living.
Oh, wow.
Everybody else is maintaining, like, how do we navigate this? How do we stay at home for as long as possible? And I I just feel so honored to be a part of that process with them to really encourage them. Okay, how do we do that? What do we talk about? How are we gonna how are we gonna adapt the home to make it safe for you? But then what's your plan if
Mhm.
when the time comes that you can't stay at
Right.
home? Like just have a plan. Like let's talk about a plan.
Right.
And that's very exciting for me because it's like, of course, we all want to stay in our own homes,
Yes.
but what if? Let's talk
Right.
about the what if.
Right. And I'll be faced with that because, I was able to take care of my parents in a home and keep them comfortable and it was a lot of work, but I don't have children or anyone that could do that for me. So I definitely will be watching because I am 57 and you just don't know.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, something could happen tomorrow where I would need help. And I think about that all the time. You have been a big proponent of the community and the community engagement piece of this. What role does community engagement play in the senior living experience as portrayed in the series?
Oh my goodness. I love that we get to feature some really cool programs that I didn't even know were
Hmm.
existed until we started doing this program. So I'm going to give a shout out to up in Carlton, Minnesota. So
Oh, wow.
small rural community. So I mean, this hopefully will be inspiration for communities,
Yes.
cities, and counties to say, "Oh my goodness, if Carlton can create a senior center and a community center and programs like this, we can do this."
Perfect. I love that.
Yep. So just this small rural community has created programs like there's a program called Daybreak and Memory Cafe.
Mm.
So these are programs that include folks with memory loss and their caregiver. So that's Memory Cafe is
Mhm.
together with the caregivers, and it's an opportunity for the caregivers to kind of come together and be able to have some social connection and support. But then the daybreak is when the older adult with memory loss goes and spends 4 hours, has some food, and then the caregiver gets to actually have a break,
Oh,
go
I
run
love that.
errands, do, just sit and read a book, whatever they need to do. 4 hours doesn't sound like much for us,
That's
but
a
4
lot.
hours to a full-time unpaid or even paid caregiver, a lot. 4 hours means a lot, right?
I would have loved 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
especially
this
someone that
small
I knew could.
community is running these just cutting edge Duluth aging support. We feature them. I mean, Sabathani Community Center here in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And we have a Latino, so Mexican family in St. Paul. We
Oh.
feature Clues. It's called Clues. It's in
Mhm.
St. Paul. It's a nonprofit organization for the Latino community that is a plethora of support for all ages, but they have a robust senior program where they pick up older adults on a bus and take them and do programming, and again, giving the caregiver a break and providing socialization for older adults who may be isolated,
I
staying
love
at home.
that. I never knew about that. That's fantastic.
Super. I think, I hope that viewers are really inspired by just these resources that we've been able to find.
Mhm.
Nobody, you just, how would you know until you know? So
Yes.
we get to really shine a light on the amazing work that these organizations are doing. And so for me, as a marketer and now a TV person, I'm like, I love that I get to shine the light on these great people and these great organizations.
Oh, I love that. And kinda playing to that, how do you see the series contributing to broader societal conversations about aging?
Um, I see the series as I mean, this is the first of its kind
Mhm.
series about kind of the process that families go through in this
Yeah,
whole.
I've never seen anything like
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
So I mean, I am still wrapping my brain around the fact that when people tell me like, this is groundbreaking, this is the first. So hopefully I'm not intimidated. Like I'm not trying to hold the monopoly on this. Let's start making content. Like let's start working together. I'm really hoping that this series will spark the creativity, spark the funding to come to content creators like myself and others that are trying to promote this more age-friendly world, that are trying to support initiatives
Mhm.
going on, and even the research, like the University of Minnesota School of Public Health has a department. It's the Center for Healthy Aging and Innovation.
Oh.
We interviewed all three of their department chair or department heads of that department, and I learned so much about the research being done
Mm.
aging and helping aging and innovate and see and they it was surprising to me that they were just as thankful that I was interviewing them because they said, here we do all this research, we're training students and we're trying to figure out how we disseminate this research information of what our findings are, and if a journalist doesn't pick it up and do a
Right.
story on it, it's
Right.
kind of stuck there.
They have this wealth of knowledge, and we need to know it, or we need to
Yeah,
get it out to the
yeah,
viewers who are watching today, and,
yeah.
well, thank you for doing
Yeah,
that. I love
and
that.
these professors are so smart, it makes my brain hurt. I mean, just fabulous humans, and I am so appreciative for the work that they're doing and studying, and really inspiring the next generation.
Research is so huge.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. In terms of your personal connection and broader goals, what have you learned personally through creating Inside Senior Living?
Oh my goodness. Personally, this has been such a surreal experience, I think. Um, I am not a huge risk taker. I'm a
Oh,
dreamer, but I'm not a risk taker.
this
I
is
was
a
a single
risk.
mom. I was a single mom for a long time, and I don't take risks, and
Right.
certainly not financial risks, and certainly not, with my jobs and um, but there was just something within me that was like, this is a gift. Like God gave me the gift of this idea. I have to keep moving forward and doing this until, the universe got until there's a stop. And I'll
Right.
stop when there's a stop. And it just has keep so I think the most impactful thing has is learning so much about myself and
Mhm.
and the ability for me to trust in, you know, my faith in God that he gives us these gifts, but
Mhm.
so often we by fear or doubt or, you know,
We
we
don't
don't.
see it or circumstance, but no, he gave you the gift because you have the perfect background and experience and tenacity. You're smart, on air. I mean, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
Well, I'm just super humbled. I just am so thankful for this opportunity to do
Mhm.
something so cool.
Right.
It's been the hardest thing I've ever done,
Right.
ever. But
I
it's
was
like
going to say, well, anything worth doing is usually hard, and if it were easy, everybody would do it.
yes,
So,
exactly.
as we hear, I know that's I didn't make up that adage, but I've read that lots, it's always everywhere, but how does your work as a senior living consultant and your background in community development inform your approach to the show?
Um, well, certainly my community development, I've worked as like in economic development and chamber of commerce. I'm working with businesses.
Oops.
I feel like I've had such a wide variety of career, basically marketing and business development, and then
Mhm.
senior living that I think it's that experience of it's all about connecting with people
Yeah.
and being and how you connect how I've learned how to connect with people is I have to be a little vulnerable myself.
Mhm.
And if
Mhm.
I'm just genuinely me, yes, I do run the risk. Not everybody loves Melissa. Not everybody thinks Melissa is great, but
I
if
can't
I
imagine that
but,
because I do, but yeah.
but in a lot of ways, it's like, okay, that's okay. But I am, I am, I have learned to, in my experience in both business and kind of senior care, be vulnerable, take the risks, ask questions, like seek out people that you think, oh, they're grumpy or they might not, they don't seem like they like me and
Yeah, they're not
so
approachable,
yeah,
but yeah.
so often the people that seem the least approachable end up having the most amazing stories. And it's just a matter of somebody taking the time to reach out and have a
Mhm.
conversation and say hi and
Somebody who just
see them.
cares
Yeah, to see them. We all want to be seen.
and
And I feel like,
heard.
yeah. And I feel like as we age, and especially women, I feel like it's really easy for us to feel like we're not seen anymore.
One thing my dad started right out of the Navy, in the clean room at Medtronic and worked his way up, and many of my viewers know his story. But one of the things he told me, he worked until the day he died, and one of the things he told me is the older he got, the more invisible in a boardroom he was. Yet he had 56 plus years of experience and was kind and was humble and was a constant person who was grasping for education and to become better and better every single day. Yet, and there were so many times I could hear when I was caregiving him on a conference call in his office, and it was both men and women that would do this to him. I wanted to yell, just shut up and listen or ask him. But obviously I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But so I can appreciate that. And I think that's one of the things we forget is the elderly may be prohibited in some ways in communicating and maybe need to communicate a little differently, or we need to be patient as they think about what they're going to say. Maybe they have aphasia, but their wisdom is invaluable if we just listen and give them the chance and are patient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even in my experience, spending time in a memory care
Hmm.
where it's easy for someone that is in late stage dementia, nonverbal really, or it's clear that you talk to them and they're repeating themselves and they don't remember 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But I feel like our spirits and our souls still remember and respond to touch. And I think that's why music
Mhm.
and smells and all these things are so important. And, this could be us. I
Mhm.
This is going to be me in
Mhm.
20, 30, 40 years. Who knows? And
Right.
so we no matter what age you are, I think it's really important that we start seeing our elders. Again, I refer
Mhm.
back to the Native community. They
Yeah.
they are a great model
For
for
all of us.
for all of us. And same with the Latino community. I mean, just the honor,
Mhm.
the care, just
Yes.
stop, listen. There's so much wisdom there. There's so much support.
Mhm.
Think of the teenagers that have gone through and young adults who have gone through COVID that are
Mhm.
really lonely, they're anxious, and how we can start putting young adults and older adults together
Yes.
for support because
Mhm.
there's just so much that we're missing out on
Well,
isolating ourselves.
and many of the cultures that have the intergenerational living, there were people who looked down on me for taking care of my parents. That is so common in many cultures. They, even the Latino culture, and I mean, just I could name so many that I am connected to. Thank goodness, because it was many of those cultures that went, "No, you need to be doing this,"
Yes.
and I was like, "Thank you," yeah, instead of the criticism, like, "You're doing what?"
Isn't
Yeah.
that interesting? Yes,
Mhm.
yes, in the Latino community, yeah, our
One of them. Yep.
one family, she's just like, I wouldn't even because I asked her in the show, like, "Okay, this is really getting hard, like, have you, ever" she's like, not even a thought. I am going to
Mhm.
do this. I'm gonna do this."
Yeah,
And so, we need to recognize and support our neighbors, our friends that are doing this, um,
absolutely.
as well as support our neighbors and our friends who have loved ones in senior living communities.
And
You know?
give them grace when they
Yeah,
are all consumed, because I found it was one of my greatest honors of being able to take care of my folks, because they took care of me and they sacrificed, and not only their money, their time, and it just, and effort. So to me, it was my way of repaying that with the utmost respect. But it isn't for everybody, which I love that your show and your series has a variety of resources and, uh, guidance for people. In fact, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, in your opinion, what should families know or consider when planning for the senior years of their loved ones?
what are some things to consider when planning? Well, I think knowing the process, knowing
Mhm.
legal, financial, end of life, just doing some initial research on what are the resources, what are the areas that are critical for me to do what can I do ahead of time that will be helpful, and what can I delay for a couple years, just
Mhm.
start to make the plan to plan.
Right. And would that be to that link number you talked about? Is that where
Yes,
they
the senior
okay,
linkage, but
okay.
even just online, that's where I think AARP is a good. resource to come up with some in the state of
Love
Minnesota.
that.
There are things you can Google to, plan for
Right.
aging.
I'm not throwing away those AARP pieces I get anymore.
I know.
I always throw them away, and,
There are great articles in there, though, I
yes,
must.
they do, yeah, and probably some great advice if I had just not thrown it away. Um, how do you envision Inside Senior Living sparking important conversations among adult children and their aging parents together?
Great point, because that is often very tricky, and I
Yes.
will say this is perfect timing to do this show because, um, families are gonna get together for Thanksgiving, and this is why I loved working after the holidays, because the phone would ring nonstop, because adult children would go back home or get together with mom. Oh my goodness, mom's house is now all of a sudden in disarray. Mom's out, they notice something
Not taking the
very,
meds
yeah,
or yeah,
very drastic. Mom and dad need help. Stat, we need help. Um,
crisis mode
yeah,
again. Yeah.
yeah. And so and then they call the assisted living that I work at, and how am I going to get my mom to move? She needs to move. We got to move mom and dad like tomorrow. And so that's where it's okay. I'm hoping that the show will help kind of set the tone for adult children to approach these conversations. That think of how you want your children or how you want people to approach you
Mhm.
as you age or as you are making life choices. I don't think any one of us would really appreciate if somebody just took our keys and said, "You're not driving anymore."
No. No.
So, what I try to encourage and what I hope will start to spark these conversations and to help bring some ideas, start some ideas with adult children is we're in this together. How do mom, dad, how do we help honor your wishes, but keep you safe? Like, how do we
Mhm.
keep you safe? How do we do this together? What do you want? Provide choices that you can live with, that they can live with too.
Yeah, and I was lucky because I did live with my parents and had flexibility and could schedule my schedule around them, where I could say my mom came to me and handed me her keys, which is very rare. I think something happened and frightened her. But my dad, I could tell he loved to drive, and so what I would say to him is, "Would you like me to drive you?" "Oh, that would be great." Or if all 3 of us were going somewhere where he normally would drive, like to a doctor's appointment, I said, "Do you want me to drive?" 100% of the time in the last year or so, I drove, if not 2, 3 years. Yeah. Yeah, more often than not. And, so, I thought I was really proud of them because I never had to take their keys or their driver's license.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, because I
It's
kept them safe.
yeah. And some people, I personally think a lot of times when you'll have an older adult that is just irrationally
Mhm.
resistant, that there's
Mhm.
some cognitive things going on,
Oh,
mental health or
absolutely.
cognitive things going on that can be factors there.
Right.
There actually are a lot of good resources on how to start approaching the subject, and finding a good caregiver support group for adult children is a really good idea because you're going to get ideas from been there, done that, going
Right.
through that too, and you can support each other.
Well, and if you're all consumed in the actual caregiving piece and can't get away, there are other ways to connect with those caregivers, and I wish
Yes,
I had known that and
yes,
those because I was not in the crisis, but I was just in the thick of it.
yes.
So, yeah.
And the beautiful thing about, one good thing that transpired after COVID was we figured out how to do all these online groups. So
Right.
there are great support groups going on, memory, uh, memory cafes, I believe, that are like Facebook groups, online groups that you can attend online.
Love it. I love it. I keep doing this. I have like a piece of hair on my nose. Probably dog hair.
That would be
Oh. It's been itching.
Yeah.
I know we've covered the gamut, but one of the questions I wanted to ask was if for the future, if there's families interested in being featured in the show or applying or whatever needs to be done, how do they do that?
So right now, so there's a form on our website.
Oh,
Sign up
okay.
for our newsletter, and you will be kind of in the know as far as
Okay.
when we start casting for the next season. We are year round always casting for industry experts. So if you are an expert
Mm.
in the field of aging, even like financially, planning
Wow.
and legally, any kind of expert that deals with the aging services, we want to hear from you because when we put these episodes, next season episodes together, and we find out what their stories are, then we will go find the experts that pertain to each
I love
story,
that.
each family story.
So for those tuning in and throughout the show, we will add those links. We'll add the web. I think the website's there, but we'll add that link,
Yep,
the
senior
linkage link.
linkage.
Yep, and the fundraising. So if you're someone who wants to support the show, a sponsor, whatever in the future,
Mhm.
because of the premiere is the show hits the air Thursday at 7:30 p.m. So when you had your food coma from eating turkey, sit back, relax. And then for those that aren't in that viewership, there will be ways to watch it. And then of course, eventually it'll be on YouTube. And then of course, when it expands,
Yes.
it'll be in what, 300, you said?
Well,
Three?
it will be available to over 340 PBS stations, affiliates
Oh,
nationwide.
goodness.
So
Wow.
we are very confident that Twin Cities Public Television will pick it up and all of the Minnesota
Oh,
stations
good.
will pick it up. So we will definitely let you know exactly when it airs here in Minnesota and all the stations here. So
Outstanding. Wow. That is great. And I'm going to do, because I know a lot of people are on Instagram too. I'm going to just quick look and see. Thank you to all that are on Instagram and watching. We've got a big audience over there as well. One of the things I know we've covered, like I said, just the gamut. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you really wanted to cover in this show? I mean, we could talk for hours. I know
yes,
that.
right. Um, I can't really. I mean,
Okay.
of course, there's always a million things to talk
Right.
about, but
I knew this would be a longer show. We've been on about an hour and 12 minutes, and we have covered a lot, and we have people that have been online, and I thank you all who it's been consistent for staying online and listening, and if you're intrigued or you're concerned or you're in a crisis mode, I will put all of that in there. But I hope that everyone tunes in to watch the show because it's something that we're all going to need. It's a resource at of some point. It might be different for
yeah,
everybody, just like cancer is different and Alzheimer's is different and dementia, every disease is. But to have the tools and the foundation of your show and your series to help us all will be just it gives me hope.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
thank you.
that's the whole idea is that we're in this together. Let's start celebrating aging. Aging is living. Let's
Have the
let's do this well,
conversation.
right? Let's have the conversation and promote a more age-friendly world.
I love that. Thank you, Melissa, for everything you're doing, everything for creating this incredible series. You are a gift to all of us. The show is a gift. I know you've got, PBS North and all the different people that have really been a part of it as well. That's helped this, but it takes a village, as they say, and you've created that. And from your husband to I mean, I know you've got a good group supporting you, and I'm excited to support you going forward.
I cannot thank you enough. And all of your viewers, thank you so much. My big ask is just please just spread the word.
Mhm.
Inside Senior Living. And my social media handles are Inside Senior Living. So you can find me, connect with me. And if, like LinkedIn, like if you're really in need of resources, stat, and you
Mhm.
want to connect with me personally, I'm happy to do what I can to help. So, hang in there. There's hope.
Yes, there
And
is hope.
you're not alone. You're not the first family that's gone through this. And, no shame. We're just
No.
all doing this.
It can be messy, it can be icky, but, that's why she has this series to help us all, and I thank you. And for those who have been watching the show, Minnesota's lifestyle and business experts, we've been bringing you the best kept secrets, businesses, organizations, and people like Melissa and Inside Senior Living and her entire team. Since 2003, and we're now the longest airing television community showcase. I know we've been going live a variety of different nights from now Monday and Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We will not be back on until next week after the holidays. So I just want to wish everybody, including you and your family, Melissa, a very happy Thanksgiving. And I know times aren't easy for many people, but let's try to find a blessing where we can. And certainly Inside Senior Living is a blessing to many of us. So again, thank you, Melissa.
Oh, thank you so much, Carla. I appreciate it.
Oh, you are welcome. And thank you all for tuning in. Anything you wanted to say before we close out?
Oh, just no, thank you and happy Thanksgiving. I'm just, thankful for life and for this beautiful place that we live in Minnesota and America. And we have a lot to be thankful for, even aging.
Yes, we do. We do. Thank you, Melissa. And thank you all. We'll see you next week right here on Around Town TV. Bye-bye, everyone. I'll end in